I get shit done, I have fun, it's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.
Welcome to another episode of the Business Renovator. I can't believe I'm doing it again, but I love it. So I'm excited to be here. I know I say that often that I'm excited, but you know what? It's true. I am. Because every time I have a new and interesting individual to have a conversation with, how can you not get excited about that? We're going to talk about something that might be a little bit weird for you, but we're going to talk about if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. I met my guest not that long ago, and it turns out he lives a lot closer to me sometimes than I would have ever imagined. And I met him in LA, but I'm not in LA. I'm like a 3-hour flight away from LA. But anyway, you'll get to meet the wonderful man here shortly. If you're watching us today, thank you for being here live in person. That's awesome. If you're watching us on the replay, hashtag replay would be terrific. Comments, feedback, questions for our guest or future guests that you might want to invite to be part of the Business Renovator, where we talk about sales, marketing, and mental fitness / mindset. I have a shameless plug, so I'm going to do that right now so you know what I do. And there'll be a gift in it for you too. If you see value in it, by all means, jump on it. So let me get that up. It's free. That is free. So if you're a business owner, entrepreneur, or a wannabe, and you want to check and see what's involved, but go to our website, coachville.ca, in the top right-hand corner, there's a button, Business Growth Score. Click on that, and you can do a self-assessment to check in with yourself and where you're at. You may find it's telling you you're right on point and right on plan, nothing to do. High five, pat yourself on the back. Or you might identify where there's an area where you would like to improve. And if you're watching the show, my invitation to you is a 30-minute complimentary coaching session. No strings attached, no credit card required. Just mention that you have found us through the Business Renovator. That's all we ask. And if I'm not the guy or the gal, I have a connection to a broad group of wonderful coaches around the globe I can introduce you to, and they'll do the same offer for you. Anyway, we're here to have a conversation with a really cool dude who wears a cowboy hat. And actually, the cowboy hat is part of his branding. I know as I turn my head, I'm hearing my video coach give me heck for taking my eyes off the camera. But you know what? This is live. It's raw. Very little is planned. So I'm going to introduce our guest, Kevin Blake Weldon. His company is IRH Universal. It's a full-service creativity entertainment company founded in November of 2018. He's a country music singer, hence the cowboy hat, which you'll see shortly, songwriter, entertainer. And after more than 15 years of freelance work as a song and jingle writer, speaker, MC, entertainer, producer, consultant, all-around fun guy, I added that. Kevin spent several years in Nashville recording and writing for Curb Records using his middle name, Blake. Prior to his time in Nashville, Blake had the #1 band in Houston, Texas area with Blake Weldon and the Texas Fire. After his stint in Nashville, he started his own entertainment company and entered into a new era and career where he created the Bad Bob and Jimmy Comedy Project, now simply known as Funny Hunting Songs. I'm going to skip down to the part that I like music. I like country music. I like a wide variety of music. But the other common thread was the reason we were in LA was because of a group that we hang out with. And he's also affiliated with the deceased, but his legacy lives on. legendary Bob Proctor, who I never met, but I did meet one of Bob's mentors and became close friends, not me, but him and my mentor. And Kevin went on to become a licensed certified consultant with Proctor Gallagher Institute. His mindset and personal growth training have taken his creativity to a new level, a whole new level. Now he is doing stuff on a world-class level. And that's why I met him, because we were doing similar things. I don't sing, I don't write songs, but we're both in the business of elevating people's life experience. Here he is. Kevin, welcome to my show.
Good morning, Phil. How are you? It's so good to see you, my brother.
I know it's been a little bit, right?
And what's interesting is you and I met out in Los Angeles. You live in Calgary. I live in Airdrie, Alberta, which is about 25 miles north of you, but yet here I am in Texas. So
I know
you never know where life is going to lead you. And that's why I'm so excited that I got on this journey, Phil. I know it's why you do what you do and why you're on this journey, because it just opens up so much more to this experience here, this life that we have here. And that's why I'm so glad to be a guest with you today, because we always have great conversations.
Yeah, no, same here. I'm glad you were able to fit it in. And I'm glad technology allows it. Like you said, you're in Texas. I'm not. I'm in Canada, on the western side, a couple of hours behind you. You've already had 7 cups of coffee. I've only had 4.
Well, actually, to be honest with you, Phil, I'm on my first cup of coffee. Believe that or not.
I believe. I was just thinking of the
up
time
late last night. So
the other thing this reminds me of, and is that Steve Jobs said you can't join the dots looking forward. That may or may not be true, but what definitely is true is you can join in going backwards. So if you go back to how we got connected, that's kind of what this show is kind of all about, is what's the journey that everybody's been on. So your journey is, your introduction talked a little bit about it, but I think you started playing music with, what did you say, when you were like 5 or something, picked up a guitar?
I wish, Phil. I didn't.
It wasn't that early.
I didn't start until I was in my early 20s. I mean, I grew up wanting to be a professional baseball player. And had I known the information that I know now, things might be different, because everything is all mindset. It's all how you think. It's what you believe. And, back then, I mean, I visualized when I didn't even realize, I probably just because everybody did it. Oh, here it is. It's in the bottom of the ninth, and Kevin Weldon's up to bat, and the bases are loaded. And you go through this whole thing, and everybody thinks you're crazy. Well, I mean, I had I would say, successful baseball career as a youth. Our summer league program was one of the best in the country. We won 3 World Series championships when I was in the Dixie Youth Baseball program. Got a scholarship to pitch at junior college. And it was there that I hurt my rotator cuff, and I was married at the time. I had 2 little kids, and I figured it's, time to give up on this dream, because it's probably not going to happen. And believed what the coach had to say, that I wasn't good enough. And so I said, well, I'm going to take up guitar. Next time you see me, I'm going to be on CMT. And 5 years later, I was in Nashville, signed to Curb Records with Tim McGraw and Leanne Rimes, Hal Ketchum, Sawyer Brown. It's just been so some of the things that I did, Phil, I did as what Bob Proctor would call an unconscious competent. I was applying the laws of the universe without even knowing what they were.
Yeah.
Like ignorance of the laws, no excuse. You can do the right things and not know that you're doing the right things and still get great results.
Yeah. Some people do it
Usually the
naturally.
other way around.
Yeah. So that reminds me, I was never a ball player, because we have baseball up here, but not like you guys. So I was more of a hockey player. And when I was in my last year of community hockey at that level, so I wasn't a superstar hockey player like you're talking about, baseball player. I didn't get no scholarships or anything. But what I was doing in it was, I was in high school. So going to school, had a girlfriend, had a job in a rock band, and playing hockey. And I often say I sort of was playing hockey, sort of was playing guitar and all that kind of stuff. But the reality, I was involved with all of those. What I didn't know until later on in life, where I learned about how our mind works. When we were off to a gig as a band, and when we were off to a gig in the van with the band, I was thinking hockey. And I wasn't just thinking hockey logically. I was in this state of imagining and visualizing to know what that was all about. Like you said, it was just natural. I had the best year ever in hockey, had the lowest goals against average for the category I was playing in. Again, I wasn't a superstar, but in the bracket I was playing in, I was a superstar at that level. Certainly wasn't going to be drafted by the NHL. That's not where I'm going. But in the state that I was in the state of mind, and the league I was in, I had a best goals against average. We won the cities, and then we went up to and played the provincials. And the funny thing about the provincials was we had set the goal to go to the provincials. We didn't set the goal to win the provincials. So guess what? We didn't win the provincials.
You
We
know,
only got there.
I've done the same thing with some of the things that I've set for myself, Phil. And
Yeah.
that's why having these kind of conversations is so important, because as we understand those things, Phil, then we start to reevaluate the goals that we set for ourselves, and we understand how this works.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important, the work that you do, the work that I do, the work that Bob Proctor did, the work that before him Earl Nightingale and Napoleon Hill. I mean, this information is not something that we're taught in schools. And I didn't really get on this journey, Phil, until I was much older. And when I did, things, it just, they talk about this rapid expansion of results in your life. And that is absolutely the truth when you start to understand how your thinking has basically created the life that you're living, and how it's going to continue to, show you your results. It's about what's going on upstairs.
Yeah. And the common there's a lot of commonality in what we're talking about here. The common thread that got us there was this dude. I should have his picture embedded, and I didn't do that. Maybe next time. But I do have his book in my hand, and it says, "Can you really think and grow rich?" Well, the author of this book certainly has, and we belong to a community where it's we can hang out and have these kind of conversations with other people and ask Remy some questions if you want. So I don't have that here, but I should put it in the banner. For those that are listening, it's if you go to his website, winwithramy.com, you can have access to some of the content you're hearing here today. Anyway, Ramy didn't know I was going to do that. Neither did I. Like I told you, it's organic.
Yeah. Oh, Ramy, what an amazing man. What an incredible story to come from where he came from, to do the things that he's done, to experience. I thought my journey was rough, Phil. I thought some of my highs and lows were high and low. His highs are higher than mine, and his lows are a lot lower than mine. And so I got nothing to complain about, brother. Nothing.
And he seems so, whether he has money or has not money, although I've never seen him when he doesn't have money, but I get the sense of what he was telling us is the truth. He's authentic. And if he didn't have money, he'd still be happy. The money doesn't make him happy. The money is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. And how he's using it isn't a good way. But like you said, his lows are living on the street. And well, because of his name and his ethnicity, he got bullied because he's the wrong color, the wrong kind of name. He's from the Middle East.
Mm-hmm. Especially around when everything really hit the fan with 9/11. So
yeah.
And to still see the serenity, the peace, the kindness, the joy, the happiness in that man's face. And listen, I've been around a lot of people, Phil, and so have you. I've been around a lot of people in my line of work, and you can always tell when someone is being authentic with you. You can feel it. And that's another thing that is so wonderful about this journey, is that you start to really develop your intuition. And listen, energy doesn't lie. You can lie with your words and with your expressions and everything, but your energy does not lie. When you tap into that and when you learn to connect to that, you can feel that something's off. But when you see Ramy, that I absolutely was so happy to see that, because this guy's a billionaire, and yet you look at him, and this kindness, this love that comes from this guy, from his energy, from his essence, it's undeniable, and anyone that ever is around him can feel that. And that's why it's so important not to just think you have everything figured out, but to know in your heart that you got everything figured out. Well, excuse me, we're not ever going to have it figured out, but you know where to go for your answers, and tap into what you are here to do, what you love to do, and feel you've done that. I've done that. And the more people we can help do that, the better this world is going to be, the happier it's going to be, the healthier it's going to be. But there's still so many people that still think that this is just kind of like woo-woo. This is out there. This is too. No, if you think that, that's what's going to happen. And getting back to what you said earlier about if you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. We're going to talk about that, I'm sure, before this program's over, because I got a couple of great examples to share with you.
Well, that song that you wrote, and I should have got it set up to play. I'm going to try that off the cuff. Here we go. I don't know if I'll play the whole thing because it's, well, maybe I will. It's like, I get jacked up hearing it. So the selfish part of me says, play the damn thing. So hang on. Let's bring it on to this. Let's see if I can make this happen real easily. Simple. I got the little video there. I think that's working.
You're talking about the man from Toronto?
Is that okay if I play it?
Is that the song you're talking about?
Yeah. Oh, shut up. You're so keen. You won't. My video just as soon as I open it, plays right away. So I'm going to play the whole thing where I took it out of the replay, out of the Zooms that we had for those that weren't there live.
I see.
Is that okay? Because I like that raw version, the live.
Sure.
Your energy, your voice is beautiful, and they talk about energy in the song. So it's a couple of minutes, but it's worth it. So hang on, guys. I'm going to do this. Entire screen. Want to make sure we can hear it. Tell me if you can't, my friend, because here it comes.
Okay.
Here it comes. Why isn't it coming? I don't know. Well, maybe we won't get this working. Oh, there we go. I'll bring that up. There we go. So I'm going to go play it. You and I have to be quiet because it'll pick us up. So here we go. We'll listen to this, and at the end, I'll take it out, and we'll come back and talk about this. Here we go. The first little bit's quiet.
But right now, I wrote a song for Bob Proctor, my mentor, before Bob passed away, and I'm so glad that I was able to get a copy of the CD to him before he passed away. But I wrote a song about my experience with Bob. It's called The Man from Toronto. Well, I heard about a man from Toronto who knew things most people don't. I've been stuck at the end of my rope, something inside said to go. He didn't have to, but he took some time to talk to me about my paradigm. Said it starts with the thoughts and the way I believe, and I already had everything I need inside of me, inside of me. The wise man said if I could hold it in my mind, I could hold it in my hand. But I didn't understand that a year ago. Now crazy as it seems, my life now looks like a dream I wrote down about a year ago. Just a year ago, I met the man from Toronto. I met the man from Toronto. He said, tell me what you want and I'll show you how to get it. Do exactly what I tell you to do. Act as though it's impossible to fail and watch your wildest dreams come true. Watch your dreams come true. Watch your dreams come true. The wise man said if I could hold it in my mind, I could hold it in my hand. But I didn't understand a year ago. Now crazy as it seems, my life now sure looks like a dream I wrote down about a year ago. It was a year ago. I met the man from Toronto. I met the man from Toronto. I owe a man from Toronto. He was the man from Toronto. The wise man said if I could hold it in my mind, I could hold it in my hands. But I didn't understand a year ago.
I tell you, I don't know how many times I've heard that. It's not thousands yet, but will be shortly. But lots of times, and every time I hear it, I get jacked up, energized. And guys and gals are watching this. If you want to hear the song again, there is a studio-produced version on Spotify and maybe some other places. Certainly, the words are good and everything's. And yeah, you can get the CD. Awesome.
It's actually the very first song on my last release that I did during the pandemic.
Okay.
And this was because of Bob Proctor that I was able to do this. And we can talk about that a little bit if you want to.
So what's kind of interesting is I didn't know about the baseball part until today. So here the dream was baseball, get an injury, has a family, takes responsibility, which is the key to all of this, is taking responsibility for
I
yourself.
don't know. I don't know how responsible that was back then, Phil, to go from, playing in college to singing in the honky tonks around Houston, Texas. But you know
Well,
what?
you did something. You took action. That's what I mean by
I
taking
did take
responsibility. You
action.
did something.
I don't think my high school sweetheart was very fond of that decision, and as it turned out, she wasn't. So,
But
but yeah, yeah,
it's all part of the
that's one of
journey,
those
though.
dots in the road that you can see looking back, Phil.
There's a friend of mine, another great American. He lives in the Montana area. He's an interesting dude as well. He loves your look at that. He says, great song. He'd never, I don't know if he's heard that song before. He's not heard that version of it because that was us in LA. I was even in the video. I don't know if you saw me or not. Did you see me? Did you see that little thing?
Yeah, I saw
That was me.
it. Is it
But
Alan or Alain? How do I pronounce it?
it's just Alan.
Alan? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, Bob
Yep.
passed away last February. It was quite a shock
Yep.
for all of us. But the great thing about it, though, is that we can still, I was in Bob's inner circle for 3 months, Natalie and I, my fiance, and we have a lot of like one-on-one type stuff that we got to do. And then, of course, I went to see Bob in Toronto, and that's where the song came from. And I had it in my mind that I was going to meet Bob and I was going to become friends with him before I ever met him. And when I went to that event in Toronto back in March of 2019, I brought my guitar and I just set an intention that I was going to meet as many people as I could. And I wanted to meet everybody that was at that event. There was like 95 people from around the world. It was a 6-day, very expensive, I might add, but the best money I have ever spent, Phil, because it literally changed the trajectory of my life. And it helped me with my mindset and understanding in ways that I had no clue was possible. No clue. But I got to meet Bob and he kind of took me under his wing and got me up on stage and then invited me out to LA. That's where I met Natalie, my fiance. And as soon as we met, we knew. And so some of the songs on this album I wrote about her. Then, of course, I wrote the song in tribute to Bob. And it was before Bob had passed away. I didn't even know that he wasn't going to be around for another 10 or 15 years. But I wrote the song, about him. I recorded a cover of "I Can See Clearly Now," that old
Right.
Johnny Nash song, and of course Johnny passed away, a couple years ago as well. But I recorded a cover of that because that was one of Bob Proctor's favorite songs, and I wanted to make an impression on him that I knew one of his favorite songs, and I performed it on stage at the Matrix event. So I felt it would be really cool to do a cover of that, which I did. And then at the event in LA, Bob invited me to come out and perform again and put me up on stage in front of 500 people. And it was live streamed, 5,000 people around the world. And I made no bones about it that I was looking for the love of my life. And the very next day I met Natalie. So, but there were some more people that were at that event, Phil, and we'll talk about if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hands. They came up to me after the song. This lady was an author and she, presented me with an autographed copy of her book, which was fantastic. A lady named Wendy Ditta, and absolutely really hit it off with her and her husband, Keith. They lived down in New Orleans. Anyway, they said, Kevin, while you were up on stage, we were watching you. And we could just see you on our yacht filming a music video. Would you like to come film a music video on our yacht? And I'm like, well, absolutely. And I was thinking to myself, well, I better start writing some new songs. If I'm going to go down and film a video, I might as well produce a new album. So that's what got the wheels turning to record the new album. And I hadn't recorded a serious album in years. Now, I've done a lot of the parody stuff, and I've got 4 CDs of the comedy parody stuff. We'll talk about that later. But the serious music, which is really where my heart was, I hadn't recorded since 2009 Christmas album. So here we were in 2021. Well, I wrote these songs. Was it 2020? No, it was 20. Yes, 2020. 2019. That's 2019. Where does time go, Phil?
Wow.
Anyway, they offered their yacht, so I wrote this whole album. And actually, there's 2 cover songs. There's "The Greatest" by Kenny Rogers, who also happened to pass away.
Mm-hmm.
So, Phil, don't ask me to write a song about you because Bob wrote about him. He passed away. Johnny Nash, I wrote him. He passed away. Kenny Rogers, I recorded one. He passed away. So I don't know if that's
Not asking.
I'm not gonna, and I'm not even gonna write any songs about myself. Or, well, I got a bunch about Natalie, but thank God she's still here.
Yeah.
But anyway, so let me just one quick story. So as we're talking about this music video, we make the plans. I start to get this image in my mind. I can see. I don't mean to be like puns or anything, but I can see so clearly in my imagination this one scene that I wanted to film on this music video. For I can see clearly now. I don't play electric guitar, Phil. You probably did, but I just played acoustic guitar. I'm not a lead player, so I don't know how to do all the fancy runs and all that kind of stuff. I just play rhythm and finger pick some melodies and things like that, but nothing serious. But I've always wanted to be like a rock and roll guitar player that gets up on the front of the stage and you got the fireworks and the smoke, and this guy's just freaking rocking out, like Bon Jovi or some of those guys when they go to their big concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had this thought, well, I'm going to have a scene in this video where I'm on top of their yacht with an electric guitar, and I'm just like wearing out that there's a music ride in when we recorded the song. The guy that I got to play the guitar, one of the best players in Nashville. The guy's incredible. He's actually the Dixie Chicks. Well, they're just called the Chicks now, but Keith plays for the Chicks. He's their road band manager. He puts their touring bands together, and he plays everything. He plays guitar, bass, drums, keyboards, fiddle, violin, banjo, mandolin, steel guitar. I mean, Keith plays everything. Incredibly talented. So he had this amazing guitar ride in the between the chorus and the second verse, and I could see myself in my mind. I could see myself playing those notes on this guitar on this boat. And when you go watch the music video, and it's on YouTube, if you go to YouTube and put in "I Can See Clearly Now" by Kevin Blake Weldon, you can actually see this music video, and you're going to see a scene in there where I'm standing on top of this boat with this electric guitar and I am burning that thing up, boy. And I'm going to tell you right now, real musicians can probably look at it and see that I'm not hitting the right notes. I fake that. But with video editing and everything else, it looks like I'm just wearing that guitar out up on top of this boat. And I was so proud of that, because again, in my mind, I'm a rock and roll guitar star. But in reality, I'm not a guitar player, a lead guitar player at all. I didn't even hit probably not even one note was probably the right note. But watching that music video, you're going to see two up close scenes of me playing this guitar, and it looks like I'm really playing it. But for those of you who are watching this, you're going to know that I'm not. But that was one of those things that I can look back on, Phil, where if you can see it, if you can hold it in your mind, if you can see a picture of something in your mind, it exists in the quantum field. That means it is a potential result that can be created in your life. If you can see it, if you can imagine it, it exists in the quantum, and you can physically create it here. A lot of people don't understand that. Here's another example. This album right here. I thought about this before I ever even wrote the first song. You write the songs, then you put the money together, then you go to the studio, then you record it, then you get them duplicated, then you do music videos. Here's some more examples of my comedy stuff. This was all under my first creation called Bad Bob and Jimmy. I've got 4 different volumes of the funniest redneck hunting songs you will ever hear. This stuff right here saved my life, Phil, after I left Nashville, because I started this as a joke, and I made more money, way more money with this goofy stuff than I ever did with my serious music. But, I've always been
cool about all of this is that Bob Proctor was a student and a teacher of this, but he was a student of the work that Napoleon Hill did because Andrew Carnegie asked him to do it. And for 20 years, without pay, he went and interviewed all the people that Andrew Carnegie had introduced him to. And as a result of that work, and that passion, that commitment, all of those things, if you follow what the principles are in there, you can hold it in your mind. You can hold it in your hand. You can make things happen. So I've heard that. I've been a student. I'm going to go off camera again. Sorry. I didn't bring my props close enough. But here's my first version. This is the back of the book, by the way. This is the front of the book, and this is the front. Wow. So Leland Val Vanderwall, who was a mentor and friend of Bob Proctor's, that's right. I bought this at his workshop back in 1979. $5.95. So I've had this book for a long time. I have other versions as well, but I brought this up But what's crazy about this is I was not as committed as people like Bob Proctor. I dabbled in it. I didn't own the idea. Like you're a really good example of owning the principles in there. And Bob was somebody that got to you and taught you about this. I didn't even know about Bob until I had a bunch of stuff from Val Vanderwall, and I donated to a family member to support them on their fundraising for an organization we're in. All my books, well, except for this one, I managed to hang on to that one, but all of the other stuff, Val stuff, and everything else. And I was trying to get it back later in life because I regretted giving it away afterwards. And Val didn't really create a lot of content. And anyway, I was looking for the thing, like the stick man that Dr. Fleet taught Val about, and then Val taught Bob about, and I was looking for all that stuff. Anyway, I found somebody who was, at the time, a Proctor, was before Proctor and Gallagher. It was his pre-business, whatever, I forget what it's called, doesn't matter. Anyway, they had a whole bunch of stuff. So that's how I found out about Bob. And then I saw him on The Secret. And, I mean, joining the dots backwards is easy to do. The point I'm getting at with my long rant here is that these are timeless principles, just like gravity. Gravity works, whether you believe it or not. It works. Jump off a building, you'll fall. Depending on the height of the building, you may die or may not. Who knows? But this stuff works if we apply it. And that was the thing I didn't do. I put like the way I describe it, I had one foot on the brake. I'd let it off, have some success, and then something inside of me held me back. I put my foot back on the brake. So if I had have only taken my foot off the brake and all those things we talked about visualizing before, things would be different. So no regrets. I am who I am, and I'm moving forward.
Well, you're right where you're supposed to be, Phil. And this is something that may help, those of us who are listening to your program, is that you're right where you're supposed to be. If you're watching this program now, you got on the right frequency that attracted you to be here. There's other things you could be doing right now, but you're here. There's a reason. You're right where you're supposed to be. You're hearing something that you're supposed to hear. What you do with it is up to you. And this is the big key here. So many people have read Think and Grow Rich, Phil. So many people have read Can You Really Think You're Rich by Rami Albatrawi. So many people have read all these wonderful books that are out there. We're big Vernon Howard fans, and The Mystic Path to Cosmic Power. It's one of Natalie and mine. That's one of our favorite books. We cannot put down. And I understand what you're saying about giving those books away, especially from Leland Val Vanderwall, because Bob talks about Leland Val Vanderwall a lot. So keep these things. It's not about if you've read it or not. I mean, I've been in front of so many people. I know you have too, Phil. Oh yeah, I have that book. I've read that book. Listen, it's not enough just to read it. It's not enough just to say, oh yeah, I know that. If you are not applying what you know, it doesn't do you any good. It's like having this amazing tool belt full of every tool that you would ever need to solve any and every problem you'll ever have, and not ever taking it out of the toolbox and putting it to use. This is one of the things that I did. I thought I knew this stuff, Phil. I remember early on in my journey, I would catch myself, and I even had, thank God, I had mentors that loved me enough to call me out. So you're doing it again, Kevin. You just said, yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And Bob says, Kevin, if you knew, you'd be doing it. If you knew, your results would show that you know it. So it's not just enough to know it. We have to apply it. And most people do not apply it. And the reason that they do not apply it is because there's still a part of them that they believe that either they're not worthy, or it's not going to work for them, or they've done something wrong, or that's just how my life is supposed to be. It's called limiting beliefs. Limiting beliefs and fear are the main culprit of why people who say they know this never apply it. Because, oh no, what if I'm the one that it doesn't work for? I could not bear the thought of being an example of somebody that this didn't work for. This works because it's the universal truth and law. It works if you apply it. And if you don't know that it even exists, Phil, which is where I was until I watched the movie The Secret. That's where I first was introduced to Bob Proctor back in 2006, I believe it was. For years, that planted the seed, and I would go and look a little bit here, hear something here, get a book here. But it wasn't until 2018, after I kept seeing this cycle of events repeating over and over and over in my life. Things would get going great, and then they wouldn't. And then I'd be in this little paralysis period, worried, scared, why me, blame game. And then I would pick myself back up and I'd start and something, and then boom, another thing would happen. Boom, crash and burn, crash and burn, crash and burn. And this kept repeating. And I'm like, what is it that I am missing? I'm missing something. Something is just not connecting. And I was in a company. I was the top earner in that company. One of their founders was doing a book study. And I got on the book study because I knew I needed to be surrounding myself with people that were on this vibration, on this frequency, people that had the information and were applying it and were getting the results. I wanted to be around that type of person. That's why we're here. And that's why people watch your and come to see you. They want to be surrounded by people that are on this frequency.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had to go. So I was in this book study, and then one night, Mike mentioned Bob Proctor. I'm like, oh, I love Bob. I saw him in The Secret. That guy's cool, So I went to YouTube and started following some of Bob's YouTube programs, and I just I connected. I just felt drawn to Bob Proctor. There's lots of other greats out there. Used to love listening to Tony Robbins. Les Brown was one of my really all-time favorites. Loved, but I felt such a pull to Bob Proctor that I had to go and see this man in person. I didn't want to just watch a video. I wanted to go and meet this guy. And they had an event coming up, and I registered to attend, and it was so much money that the old me would have been sick for a month just trying to make the decision. Right away, I said yes. Right away, my intuition said, Kevin, this is going to change your life. And I agreed to go. And it took me, about 3.5 months to get it all paid for. I put the deposit down. So I go in March of 2019. I go, and like I said, I had set an intention in my mind that I was going to not just go to this event, but I was going to meet Bob. I was going to become friends with him, and I was going to meet every single person that was at that event. So, of course, I wore my cowboy hat. I took my guitar, and I went, and I was myself. I was me. I went, and I was me. I didn't pretend like I was anybody else. I went, and I was me, and I sang. After the events in the evening time, I went out in the lobby, and people would come out, and I'd met them, and I said, I'm a country music singer. I'm going to sing some songs. Oh, yeah. They're about to get a glass of wine, come sit around, and I'm singing. The second night I was singing, Bob's son, Brian, was going up the escalators and heard me and saw the crowd down and sat and listened. And then he told Bob, he said, Dad, the guy with the cowboy hat on is really good. You should get him to sing. So Bob comes up to me and asked me if I'd like to get up on stage. And of course I did. I jumped at that opportunity, Phil, and he put me up on stage, and I performed, 3 songs. And after that, Bob gets up and talked about and said, I want you to come out to LA. Well, actually, he just said, I want to introduce you to Phil Goldfine, a Hollywood movie producer. Said, you just look like a star. And so this all happened. Then we go to Bob's house the last day of the event. And I heard that if you catch Bob at the right time and ask him to spend some time with you, he will. And so I was getting ready to get on the bus to go back to the hotel. And I saw Bob, and I went over and I said, Bob, I can stay for a week if I have to. I'll stay at the hotel. If you have a window, I can come. I would just love to spend a little bit of time before I leave. And he said, well, I'm leaving to go out of town on vacation tomorrow, going to Vegas. I'd love to go to Vegas. But he said, if you can be at the house at 10 o'clock in the morning, I can make some time for you. So I Ubered over to Bob's house and sat with him on the couch for 40 minutes, just me and Bob. And it was there that he invited me out to LA and said, come be my guest. I'm going to put you up on stage. And my whole life changed. Well, my life changed when I made the decision, Phil. That was one of the dots that we talk about. I didn't know that was coming, but it all started with the decision that I was going to do something for myself. I stopped worrying about what anybody else thought, because I knew if some of my friends and family heard that I was about to spend 15 grand to go see Bob Proctor for a week, they would have told me that I'm out of my mind. But I knew, and this is one of the biggest problems that I see, Phil, is that we are so afraid to let go of money. We're so afraid that we're to spend money that we hold on to it, and we're living in this fear that it's going to run out. And when this is the most important thing that we can ever do, is invest in ourselves and get on this journey of understanding how this mind works and what we're truly capable of doing. Because when we do that, Phil, everything changes.
Yeah, totally.
You ask me now, Phil, if I went back, would I do it again? I would do it again, and I would spend 10 times what I spent if that's what it cost because
See,
of
what
what
you didn't do, you didn't spend it, you invested it. And one
a
of the things I want to bring this back
absolutely.
is I want to
It's an
bring
exchange. It's an exchange.
absolutely. I want to bring this back into more psychological babble in a good way, because I agree with everything you're saying, by the way. Um, what Bob was a teacher of is this content in this book. There's nicer looking books. This is an old one, but the meat and the potatoes is still the same inside. My book's fallen apart. Anyway, there was another mentor along the way, and the way he described it is we have this isness, we have this self-concept of who, or our self-image as who we see we are, and its job, our creative subconscious job, is to maintain sanity for us. We could be an alcoholic, we could be happy or comfortable, not happy, but comfortable in an abusive relationship, and we're afraid to step out of that into the new. Forget about the money, we're afraid to step out of that into the new because we fear that what we don't know, and we're comfortable and understand what we do know. So our creative subconscious job is to maintain our sanity for us, even if it's crazy bad for us, alcoholism, drug, uh, whatever the addiction might be. That's the way we see ourselves. It's going to do everything in its power to keep us in our isness. So what we're talking about here, said slightly differently, is that we need to identify what's the ideal life we would like to grow into and make the picture of that stronger than the images of what we have currently today. It creates a dissonance or tension between the current reality and the future ideal and turns on the creative juices. And you can't just think about it, but that's where it starts. It's the seed thought, it creates a picture, and as we get the picture, we create emotions. And we create emotions, we create more thoughts, get more pictures, more ideas. It creates the energy to move us and pull us to it, but it also works the other way. If we dwell on where we are and afraid of moving out of that, it'll keep us there as well. This is psychological stuff from a fella, he's passing out too, out of Seattle. His name was Lou Tice. And he took complicated psychological data, information, and science and put it into easy stuff for people like me that he dumbed it down so I can understand it and share it. So whether it's Bob Proctor, whether it's Napoleon Hill, whether it's whoever your favorite person is, don't just read it. Don't just listen to it. Take action and implement it. That's what I'm hearing, what you've said, and it's what I'm encouraging everybody to do. You know what I hate about the show? We have to end it. And we should have, I know we don't should, I think so. I learned that from Val. He would say should 5 times fast. Would you just play with me? Say that.
Should,
I know you. Yeah. What does that sound like?
Sound like I just should all over myself.
Right. So stop shooting on yourself. Right. So everybody stop shooting on yourself. So I learned that way back when.
Yes,
from Val.
make that decision, Phil. And it's like you said earlier, and I say the same thing too. There's going to be some people, Phil, that are going to connect with me, with my style, with my voice, whatever. There's going to be people that are going to connect with you, with your style, with your teachings. I mean, people are going to connect with somebody else, but make the decision to find someone to work with. You can do it by yourself to a point, and it won't be any different than Bob. When Bob got that book, Think and Grow Rich, he did what he could, and he kept getting mentors. He kept working with people to keep expanding it because he wanted to continue to grow. And hopefully you do too. And if you do, reach out to Phil. Like he said, he will help you. He can get you connected. And there's such an amazing community of people here, like-minded people that can help you connect to what it is that you're here to do. And once you get on that frequency, you will never be the same.
No.
Never.
And a place you can hang out with us and others.
Yes.
And
some of the events are awesome. I mean, that's how we met, because we're on this
met.
frequency. We got involved in this community, and we get to meet different people, and it's wonderful.
Yeah. And he wrote this book because the principles in Think and Grow Rich that Bob was a teacher of, they work. It's like gravity, right? Anyway, that's the place to go hang out with us if they wanted to. And it doesn't cost anything. And just, it's amazing. Anyway, I hate to say that I'm going to wrap this up because we could go on forever. I do enjoy hanging out with you. So don't go away. Hang out for a little bit, and I'll be bringing us right back. Is there one thing you could say in 20 seconds or less that you want to share? I think you shared a bunch, but one more thing. Come on.
Just listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. You can't go wrong. You got to get in a quiet place. You got to get away from all the noise, but listen to your heart. Your heart will guide you. Your heart will say yes or your heart will say no. Learn how to distinguish between what your heart is guiding you to and what your head, which has been programmed by everybody else's junk, what it's saying. Listen to your heart, connect to your heart, and things will change for you in ways that you cannot believe.
Cool. And we've got one last comment. Thank you, Alan, for being here and staying the whole time. Normally, I'm done by 30 minutes, but this was so good, I want to cut
I
off.
love
I don't
his
even
dog.
want to cut off now,
Look
but
at
I've
that
done it.
beautiful dog, man. That's a great picture, Alan.
Anyway, my friend, hang out. I'll be right back.
Awesome.
Well, there was a lot of nuggets. I didn't get a chance to write them all down, so hopefully you did. We think about what it is you want. Henry Ford, he said something, if you think you can or think you can't, either way, you're right. That's basically what we're saying here. Everything starts with a thought, but you can't just think about it. You need to take action and move forward with confidence. That's the key. And remember, my favorite word that I got from Val Vanderwall again is, bring this up, this one here. Wonderful. See the U in there instead of an O? That's representing you. You're both unique and you're also wonderful, and the U represents you. So continue on being your wonderful self. Take action. And thanks for being here today and or watching it on the replay. Till next time, I'm Coach Phil. That's this show wrapping up. Thanks for being here. Much appreciated.
I get shit done. I have fun. It's my time and I'm the one. I'm breaking through.